62nd Annual Meeting and Budget Hearing to order at 7:02 on Monday, October 23rd, 2023. Do we need to do any kind of a roll call?
Nope, we are
so.
just taxpayers.
Okay.
You are taxpayers here.
Yep, I will act as the temporary temporary chairperson. The parliamentarian is our district attorney, Shayna Lewis, from Renning, Lewis and Lacey. I assume she is available via telephone?
Yep, she is available.
Okay, so next action is to elect a chairperson.
Just, if we can just hold on for a second. I think we have some ground
Oh.
rules, just, that
Sorry.
we're gonna be reviewing. I can go over these for you,
Thank you.
if you don't mind.
No.
So, for those in attendance, so to qualify as an elector, you have to be a U.S. citizen, age 18 or older, reside in the district for at least the last 28 days. Obviously, attendees state your name when addressing the chairperson, who we will be determining soon. And all actions begin with a motion and a second before discussion is held, something the board members are very familiar with, but for the public that may be watching. Voting will take place via a voice vote, but we do have paper ballots as necessary. And should attendees want to propose motions for new business, there's a section of the agenda for that. Make sure that those fall under the power and responsibilities of the annual meeting. And if you're making a motion, that should be written and signed and presented to the chairperson so we get the language correctly. And then Angie, if you want to advance to the duties. So these are the powers of that annual meeting. And there are many of them, some of which don't apply. We are not going to be consolidating any high schools tonight, which is the last one. But just a good reminder about the things, and we'll walk you through that agenda pretty clearly as we go. Okay? We talked about our parliamentarian. And now we're ready for you.
Okay. I assume we take nomination like anything?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Anybody can make a motion to elect a qualified elector
Okay.
to serve as chairperson for the remainder of the meeting.
Okay, so I'd look for nominations for chairperson for this meeting.
I would like to nominate you, Craig Howard.
Okay, thank you.
Second that.
Thank you. Any others? Okay, I guess in that case, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
I think 5-0
Oh, I'm sorry, Angie.
Just carried unanimously.
Yeah.
unanimously.
Carried
Okay.
unanimously. Thank you. Okay.
Oh, yeah, because you can't vote for yourself. Good call.
Minutes,
Well done.
Bruce, let's see, minutes of the 2022 annual meeting provided by clerk Bruce Fisher.
I would move to approve the minutes of the 61st annual meeting as written.
Thank you. Angie?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kate. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, treasurer's report and budget summary provided by School District Treasurer Megan Fessler. Megan is not here this evening. So I would accept the motion to, how do we do it without the reading?
You have it on page 6. So as presented just means as is included in your packet.
Very good, thank you.
Mhm.
That is very helpful. Okay, I would look for a motion to approve the treasurer's report as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Bruce.
Tom.
Tom, I'm sorry. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kate. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay. That brings us to our hearing on the budget. We have a table and, let's see, adoption of a tax levy. A tax levy resolution to fund the proposed budget is an appropriate action at this time. Be it resolved that the school board be authorized to levy a tax of $18,275,722 for the 2023-2024 school year. This would result in an estimated equalized value mill rate of $7.93 per 1,000 of equalized value.
So before we get into that, any action or motion for action, we will have the hearing on the budget. So this is the presentation by Mr. Mahoney on how we arrived at those numbers.
Which, at the conclusion of this, we would move then to that portion, which is perfect lead-in. I appreciate it. So, kind of been doing this last few years. We've been starting with, what does this all mean? And again, it means for our community, that our community is supporting our school district by accepting levies. So, with that, I'd like to start with what those levies will be, of which its revenue cap minus state aid equals our property tax. Our revenue cap has a slight inflationary increase of about 2.7%. We received about $400,000 in increased state aid, which means we're able to look at a $670 million increase, excuse me, take that back. We do not have a $670 million increase in the general tax levy. We have a $670,000 increase in the general tax levy. Of that amount, $200,000 of this is for the private school charter school programs in the state of Wisconsin. So about $400,000 for the public school district of McFarland. Our average expenditures are going up about 6%. Revenues do include $3 million of federal ESSER one-time grant funds. So without the ESSER funds, we would have a $3 million deficit for funding this year. So in the end, there will be a tax. But there's also a infusion of a lot of dollars by the state of Wisconsin into the property tax credit program, which school levy tax credit program. In my opinion, very unprecedented that they pump $590 million more into the current school tax levy credit program, but only put in $547 million into the actual general aid programs for school districts. Of course, none of these really give more funding to school districts. They offset property tax for our taxpayers, which is wonderful. But again, it doesn't expand our revenue cap unless we have revenue cap authority increases. The state does credit the part of the levy credit as part of its commitment to 2/3 school funding. But again, the credit goes directly to our taxpayers. It's a direct offset. So when we look at the McFarland school levy, credit is increasing by an estimated $600,000, and our levy is only set to go up for school purpose for our entire number of taxes, which is the general fund, the referendum fund, the capital expansion fund, and the community services fund. They're almost offset right there of $600,000 more in levy credit and only a district levy going up in total of $770,000. Therefore, as I shared with the board in some examples a few weeks ago, the McFarland home with a value of about $411,800, which would have been last year's value of that property, and is an actual property, happens to be one of our board members' property. We're estimating about $169 more in property tax if that person's property didn't have anything but just an average increase in their value from last year to this year. However, the school levy credit is going up about 27% for our school district. Therefore, that same person's levy credit last year is increasing just about $169. So the good news for our property tax owner that is present this evening, they should have basically a wash of property taxes for school tax purposes. So,
Wish we could put that in bold letters someplace on the tax bill.
well, we'll certainly be trying to point that out a little bit more as we
Yeah.
migrate into probably referendums,
Referendum
but that's
time, yeah.
not for this evening's meeting. So I do apologize. I really should have talked a little bit more about 2 slides earlier, sorry, to the board or our community that is present here, that there are the 4 funds for taxation. The general fund, the referendum, debt service fund, the capital expansion fund, and the community service fund does make up our total 4.4%. But I will be going into detail on each of those as we go. But
What percentage of that total is goes towards staff benefits, salary?
what percentage of the general fund tax
Oh,
or
the
our
budget.
expenditures?
Expenditures,
Expenditures just over 80%.
over 80.
That's pretty typical.
And if you included your contractors of our bus drivers, that would increase. And our substitutes, that would
Sure.
increase.
Mm.
So when we think about the services we ask for and pay for, a lot of those are people-driven.
Mm-hmm.
So. All right, thank you for, yeah, let's go to the total budget page.
Oh,
Totally fine. Pretty cool. All right, our total budget, when you include all of the funds, is in expenditures about 84 million, with interfund transfers totaling 4.4 million of that amount, which then our total expenditures, when you net that out because you can't double count it, is about $80 million. The interfund transfers is the transfer from the general fund to the special education fund. But in all reality, it doesn't matter if it's Fund 10 or 27, they are all of our students. But for years, the state has asked to have that broken out of what portion of local funding goes towards special education. So that's why we have the 2 funds of 10 and 27. We've accounts for about $33 million of the expenditures, of which there are $34.5 million worth of revenues that come through, thank you, that we have a net that stays with the school district. So when we think about our budget, that over $1 million is coming from another school district, that being our virtual school, and $3 million coming from ESSER. If we didn't have those funds, this would be nearing about $4.5 million deficit. But we do have a good relationship with our charter school. There's 6 major funds: the general fund, special projects fund, special education, debt service, capital projects, food service, and community service. I'll touch on a few of those as we move forward. The general fund. The general fund occupies $69.1 million of expenses and $69.1 million worth of revenues. Just a reminder, again, the accounting for WEVA goes through here. So we are closer to about $36 million of expenditures in the general fund for the operation of our bricks and mortar of our school district. That includes the $4.5 million that's transferred to Fund 27 for special education. Federal ESSER 3 funds. This is the last of our $3 million that we're using, as prescribed by our joint finance. And state of Wisconsin was to use ESSER funds to carry out the duties of regular education on an ongoing basis. So we've done that. Done a great job with one-time money, and we've fixed our budgets the last 3 years. Special education. It's about $8 million. Expenses really rose very slight for this coming year. When you think about personnel, that fund is operating probably strictly at about 95% of it is for staffing, which is great. The revenue sources are always very interesting to look at. 54% local, 25% state, 21% federal. What's interesting is that the state of Wisconsin keeps trying to say that they're going to commit more money for categorical aids, and that's going to be in 30 plus, 33%, 34%. But in all reality, for this year, it's 25%. The debt service fund, our mortgage payments. I do like the fact that we get to pay basically once a year. In reality, the school district pays our interest expenses in the fall, and we pay our principal payments in the spring. So we only have 2 payments. So that's kind of nice from a accounting practice. But this year we'll be spending $4.4 million, and those are dollars that are going towards our $65.1 million capital project referendum that was held in 2016. Right now, we don't have any refinancing options really on the $55 million. That's because our rates that we locked in 2016 are better than the rates that you can get nowadays. So good job to the board at that time for going to referendum at that time. Expenses were also a lot cheaper. Current debt will be completed by 2038 if we did nothing with any refinancing. So, and just a fact that you can have debt for capital projects for your housing debt, I'll call it, up to 10% in equalized value. So we presently have $55 million out of $2.3 billion worth of equalized value, which means we're only using 2.4% of the 10% of the limit that you could be using. That's a low mark compared to a lot of school districts across the state. The average is closer to like 4%. So, that's good news. Capital Projects Fund. Again, the Capital Projects Fund is actually part of the revenue cap. We tax for this fund. We're one of the few districts that still tax, while it's a small amount, $249,000 annually. It is actually out of the revenue cap that money comes. Therefore, we use it usually for very large projects that are very significant, and usually are roofing and parking lots. But lately, we've been engaging into bigger projects that are for things like having bathrooms at our softball site for our wonderful softball programs. So that's 23-24 project that's in progress will be paid for by this fund. In 24-25 this summer, we're also looking at the roofing project over at Wabisa. We also have our joint project and venture with the village, which is very exciting because this is a crossover project between members of all of you that are sitting here tonight and the village board as well. So that is in full gear. Just as a note, the 12-20-21 board meeting did authorize the school board or the administration to be using one-time funds from the general fund balance for that overall project, which is parking lot, playground, and the concession stands out as well. So lots going on over there.
That looked to be coming in pretty close to their estimates.
Yes. Yeah.
They're moving a lot of dirt around over there.
Yeah, Iconica has been a wonderful company to work with, and also Speedway Gravel, who's been helping the village with some of their projects, did wonderful with their bidding. A lot of great suggestions and collaboration between those two organizations. So it's been wonderful. Helps when one of the project managers also has a couple kids in that district. She likes projects in the district because she can stay on the side of town.
When would they anticipate wrapping that up? before the snow flies?
We hope to see the enclosure of the facility so that they can do indoor work.
Yeah.
So we don't have to do any outdoor temp heating prior because of a lot of the brickwork on the lower level. So, but the parking lot won't be, and the drive
Yeah.
probably won't be paved until after all of the summer or the spring softball program's done. But that's kind of by design because we want to bid that into the Wabesa's parking lot redo. The more asphalt that we can get under one project should bring the pricing down all the way around. So. But the bathrooms will be open.
That's important.
That's the goal, and concession stand. So that's one of our favorite goals here. Food service. This has really been fun and fascinating to see how we survived the pandemic and also continue to just flourish. But as Aaron Tarnitzer, superintendent, showed in a previous board meeting not too long ago, that our staff do a wonderful job of incorporating lots of new ideas and options for kids, and it's a really wonderfully run program. We've been having slight revenue over expenditure years. One of the most significant things that impacted this balance that exists for the food service department, which is about $534,000. That is significant. We do have to spend down that per state law, as put through by the USDA and the National School Lunch Program. We do have to do some spending down of some extra funds above and beyond a 3-month. You cannot have more than 3 months of a balance in your funding, in your fund balance, which that's great. We kind of have a guide. But so for this year, what we're doing to take that down is, while you have free students, you also have reduced students that get a little bit of reduction in their cost. But the National School Lunch Program allows you, with these funds, to make free and reduced all free. So that's one of the ways we're draining down our funds, is by applying that to, and we can do that for a couple years. So we're doing that. We feel that is a great way to use the funds that we had basically received during COVID that brought up these balances. So that is something that we're doing for our students.
Can you tell to any degree of accuracy what percentage of students use the school lunch program as opposed to, they'd either bring it or leave or whatever their other options are?
I can't be exact, but we're always usually over 1,000 students.
Okay.
So the higher you go, you take 4K out of that,
Yeah.
and then, so that's 125.
That's a little under 50%,
2,500.
right?
You take most of the senior class that seems to be somewhere for a lot of reasons. So, you're probably down to 2,200 kids. You're serving probably between 1,400 and 1,600, really.
That's great.
Yeah.
And
We have
the higher
great
the number, the
participation.
better.
That's good.
Our high school has a lot of offerings, which we do because we want to accommodate the students because they're not allowed necessarily off campus.
That's
And-
correct.
And that is a great thing for our community, is to have options for our kids to stay here, be healthy, and not clog up Culvers and Quick Trip, so they don't have to put signs saying only 3 students in at a time. stuff like
Agreed.
that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, stop by. We do have a new machine. It's an open air
yeah.
cooler that has grab and go meals that are all put together for the high school students, and we continue to explore options for the high school. So, but I did want to get into is the National School Lunch Program has been starting to take a look at their where the dollars go. So we are below 60% free and reduced. So we lost dollars for our free and reduced kids and also our paid kids, because you do receive some reimbursement for the paid kids too. That's okay. They had been climbing with more funding to school districts since 15-16, and that's why we've not had change in our paid pricing since 15-16. So we've been able to manage the increases in food and the money we received from the National School Lunch Program, but now we're seeing that there's gonna be some tides changing a little bit.
When you say we, is the last time we raised?
15, 16 for the paid. But that is mostly due to the fact that we've received more.
Yeah.
And the more students you have in the program,
Mhm.
using our programs, our breakfast program is off the charts compared to when we didn't even have breakfast programs at some of
Right.
our grade levels. So, I think when I arrived in 2004, we served breakfast at the middle school and the high school only. And then we walked it down to Wabisa, and then we walked it into CE. I think we had the
Primary
MPS
school.
kids walk over to get
Yeah.
breakfast.
They did.
And the two buildings were separated, so. So yeah, it's one of my favorite funds and one of my favorite departments.
It really is a model program, though, with what they've been able to do with the monies that they've been allocated.
Yeah.
You know, I would say, again, knowing some other school districts and their health lunch program, and the question of the quality of food and the quantity of food, again, we are so far out of most school districts.
Yeah, it's fun, and we learn from our counterparts, so it's also fun to take some of their ideas. Community Service Fund. This is a taxpayer-supported fund, supports 64% of our expenditures. We account for the remaining through fee-based programming, which is mostly through MRAP, our Angie O'Donnell Aquatic Center, and our MPAC, which is our PAC. We continue to have recreational growth in both adult and youth programming throughout each of the seasons. Our aquatic center, as you might know, is very busy, very successful, and it's wonderful. And our PAC has become busier and busier. We have had, as a business side of things, some growing pains. We're learning about people that love to want to use your facilities, but don't want to sometimes pay the invoices for the facilities. So we've learned about collections and contracts, and not much. We're only at about $3,000 of some collections we're working on. But for those groups that are coming from outside of our community, those are some of the areas we're having some troubles with. But
You see this growing, I'm sure it's gonna.
what our focus has been, again, is, and when we went to referendum in 2016, we did not go for operating revenue to think about that we were going to be subsidizing our recreation, our aquatics, or our PAC overlaid by the taxpayers. But we also noted that we were not bringing these facilities on to be generating revenues
make profit.
that could have any significant impact on lowering. Our balance and our goal is really about providing first and foremost for our school district residents the opportunity to use these facilities, because we don't have duplicate facilities with our other municipalities in our area. So, and when other school districts call and talk to us about how much revenues did you plan for your pool because you want to make money off of it. Well, first of all, pools are like ice arenas. They do not generate enough revenues to offset. It's something about water. Either frozen or unfrozen. You don't make money to completely take away the operations. That's why a significant portion of our programming and community service is taxpayer supported. But I think here in the state, in McFarland, we're using that wisely. Because a good portion of about 26,000 of that taxation is going towards the youth center. And other services are school resource officers.
We still split that with the village?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, that's right.
So another one of our fun funds. Community services. That would bring us to the conclusion of my report, and would take those in attendance to item 7.
There it is. Another remarkable job, Mr. Mahoney.
Great, thank you.
Good work. Any questions, comments for Jeff? Okay, hearing none, then I would look for a motion to adopt the 2023-2024 tax levy as presented. I'll read this again. Be it resolved that the school board be authorized to levy a tax of $18,275,722 for the 2023-2024 school year. So I'd look for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Bruce. Second?
I'll second.
Okay, Tom, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And again, thank you very much, Jeff, for all your work. This is, you make it easy enough for the board to understand. That's pretty good, in my book.
And we appreciate that.
Nobody more than me. Okay, so next is to determine the salaries for school board members. Board members are compensated at a salary of $3,657.04 annually. The last increase was in 2021. The tasks and responsibilities of the board continue to magnify as educational issues become more important and complex. The members spend many hours in preparation for and participation in various meetings, conferences, seminars, policy development, and providing leadership to the school system. Members receive a wide variety of information and act as liaisons to other public bodies throughout the year. Formal meetings are usually scheduled twice a month, and numerous work sessions are held to address a variety of issues and policy needs. So I'd look for, how do we do this?
I would move to set the school board member compensation at a salary of $3,700 annually.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. Any discussion?
Jeff, do we know where the proposed salary of $3,700 falls with another school board in our area or within our
The
WIA
information I can
conference?
share is it's a challenge to compare this board with other boards because of the fact that it's a 5-member board and it's the committee of a whole. And so there's a lot of other subcommittees and because most of our other boards around the other area are 7 or 9 members. But,
With committees that meet
Right.
outside of,
Yeah.
in addition to board meetings, which we don't want to do.
I understand that, and I
That's-
affirm that
I know
also.
you do.
Any other discussion? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Angie. And let's see, then we'll get to reimbursement of school board members. Authorize the payment of actual and necessary expenses of a school board member when traveling in the performance of duties and their reimbursement for actual loss of earnings when duties require the school board member to be absent from regular employment. Note, the board is paid for food and lodging and other miscellaneous expenses when conducting school board business outside the district. Mileage is based on an IRS reimbursement rate. So I would look for a motion to approve.
I would move to authorize the payment of actual and necessary expenses of a school board member when traveling in the performance of duties and their reimbursement for actual loss of earnings when duties require the school board member to be absent from regular employment.
Thank you, Angie. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Kate. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Once again, thank you, Angie. Gets us to disposal of surplus property. Be it resolved that the school board of the school district of McFarland is hereby authorized during the current school year to sell and dispose of any tangible personal property no longer needed by the school district and belonging to the school district. So I would look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the disposal of surplus property as described.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Bruce. Discussion?
Is there any surplus property that's coming up for sale, Jeff?
Most of our property is disposed of in the way that's recycled, as far as to like resellers when it comes to technology.
Mhm.
And then if there is any furniture or any of those pieces, we use Wisconsin Surplus online auction system so that it's available to all. But directly, we do not have any large pockets of new furniture or equipment that is coming due in this fiscal year.
Thanks.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, if not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And that brings us to the annual meeting date. Be it resolved that pursuant to SS 120.081, the school board of the school district of McFarland is hereby authorized to set the annual meeting date for 2024. Do we have any ideas?
Would that be the third Monday of the month?
I would move to approve the following guideline for setting the annual meeting date. I would, be it resolved that pursuant to state statute 120.081, that the school board of the school district of McFarland be hereby authorized to set the annual meeting date for 2024.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
So what date are we talking about specifically, or do we
It would
wait?
be in-
Will be
The
the
school board.
Correct,
will
school board
decide.
gets to
We'll
set it.
determine that later.
When you
Okay.
become a school board member again.
Yep, we will.
Yeah,
What do we
because it's been
usually
on the
set?
fourth Monday. There's only 4
Typically, but-
Mondays next year, so.
Typically, when do we set that typically?
It's usually in
December.
December when I bring in.
Yeah,
I do
budget
remember,
calendar.
I remember doing that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
on the
December.
calendar.
Okay.
We really just have to be, if we're gonna stay consistent with what we've been doing with our school board. But many of them aren't present here this evening. All but one.
Yeah.
Is usually a week after, and minimally a week after we receive our final piece of
Yeah.
the pie in the puzzle, which is
Yeah.
state aid. So,
Yep.
So generally, middle of October-ish.
Yeah.
Yep. We don't have to do that tonight, do we?
No,
No,
you can't.
Nope.
No.
not
You're not a
agendized.
school board right now.
Thank you.
I just
I
feel
think
free.
that.
Yeah,
that's
say
it.
whatever you
Oh, we
want.
have other new business within the power and authority of the annual meeting. I guess I would open the floor to anyone who has any new.
Unfortunately,
know.
most of them have left. Like,
You don't have to have new business.
Building sites. Huh. Wow. Okay.
Yep,
Alright.
it's just an opportunity.
Anyone care to discuss any of the,
Oh, sorry, we're not
any new
ready.
business? Okay, if not, then I would look for a motion to adjourn.
I will make that motion.
I will second.
Emphatically, Bruce will make that motion. Angie, you second it?
Yeah, I second.
Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously, and we are done at 7:41 PM.
All right.
Well done, folks. Jeffrey?
Thank you for coming to our meeting this evening.